In this video, I'm going to be showing you the entirety of my custom LEGO World War I airplane collection. So let's get right into it. The three World War I aircraft that we have here are the Red Baron, or the Fokker, the Sopwith Camel, and the MB-1 World War I bomber. Before we get too deep into the review of these planes, I wanted to give a mention and a shout out to, I believe his name is Rutik on Flickr. I'm not really sure if that's pronounced correctly, but he designed a lot of this Red Baron, and he deserves the credit for it. When it comes to all the complex shapes and curves of this plane, this one really hits it out of the ballpark. You can see that the wings here are rigged forward by one stud to keep this parallel to the ground. Another thing that you may want to notice is that the engine cowling up here uses these 1x2 macaroni pieces. I use quite a few of these, along with some slopes on the bottom. I also use this rare brown propeller, which is actually a lot harder to find than you may think. One of the more challenging bits of this plane was the way to find a sturdy landing gear system. I ended up settling on these bars here. This is a little bit different than the original LEGO creators on Flickr, but I wanted to use these bars. They are quite expensive and a little harder to find on Bricklink than I would have liked, but they are quite effective, and they do get used up here too. This plane has a wingspan of about 6 inches and roughly a length of 6 inches. Moving right along on the chain, we've got the Sopwith Camel. The Sopwith Camel was a British plane during World War I, and it was one of the planes that would have fought the Fokker. One of the things that you may notice with this plane is that it is the same color scheme as the LEGO set that came out back in 2012. What I mean by that is the dark green with the tan color scheme and the gray up here. This was actually quite a common color scheme back in World War I because it was very hard to see. You may notice that these machine guns point directly into the propeller, and the way they did not hit those is because these propellers here were synchronized with those guns, so the guns would not shoot the propellers. You can see the roundels on the top signify that this was with the British. As we turn it around, we get to see where the pilot would be held. And this little hole up here was so he can look through the very top and see what planes were coming from above him. The landing gear for the Sopwith Camel is relatively simple, using mostly those 1x4 bar pieces that you can buy from the LEGO store, along with these 1x wheel pieces with some of those round plates, and the round plates that had sort of a divot on the bottom or a round part on the bottom put together and with a tire around it. That's how I come up with the wheels for this. I don't believe these are the original design of me. These are the original design of the whoever designed that thing over there. But the Sopwith Camel really utilized these very well. And I'm very happy with how they looked on it. The wing is held up only using those brown bar bits, and that is actually quite a sturdy mechanism because it does hold together very well. Alrighty, once we move past those little planes, we move on to the beast of the bunch. This giganto thing was a World War I bomber. This was the Martin MB-1 bomber. Since everybody these days is doing Gaza bombers, or Gotha, or however you pronounce it, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so I came up with this design using some bricks on side construction along with some bars. It is not the most complex design, but it definitely worked for the thing I'm using. And one of the problems with building bricks on side construction is that these will tend to sag over time. But the construction of this thing is a lot sturdier than you would think. You can actually swish it around a bit and play with it, though I would not recommend you do that at all. So what else is going on with this thing? Well, other than the fact that it is 3 times the size of one of these little planes, this thing was a bomber of that era. And though compared to today's bombers, it is absolutely tiny, it carried a whopping 3 people back in the day. We've got a pilot here, we can have a gunner up here in the front, and we can have a gunner down there in the back. Unlike with the smaller planes, I actually took the time to run strings through the wings here because I just feel like that adds a lot to the authenticity of this bomber. This plane here has 2 wing-mounted engines, piston-powered. That's signified by these metallic silver bits here on the top that I use to try to identify that these are piston-powered engines. And these really do sort of stick right on there. These are kind of holding together the wings, so if you removed them, this thing is going to collapse in on itself. And that's definitely something that was interesting for back in the day. Having 2 engines on a plane was quite unusual. If you are wondering where the bombs are, unlike conventional bombers that nowadays use bomb bays, these things would actually carry them on the underside of the wings, and sometimes inside. These are where the landing gear and the bombs are held. You've also got a little rogue bomb here up at the front. After you turn it around, you get to see that you have some tail assembly here with the flag. This, I believe, was a British bomber. It may have been a French. I don't know. They all use the same red, white, and blue color scheme. And very back here, we have a soldier or a pilot, or no, this is more of a gunner, that is wearing a bucket helmet. I don't know why. That just looks military enough. And he is commanding these two guns right here, which can be pointed and aimed at the opponent. These would have been used to shoot down any Fokkers that were coming to get him. And you can see that the back of the piston engines here do have some detail with those curved slopes, sort of aiming the exhaust out of the back of the plane. This side view is one of my favorite angles of this plane. Well, that's the entirety of my LEGO World War I collection. So, which one of these is your favorite? Please tell me in the comments section below. And as always, that's going to be it for this video. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, and bye for now.